There's a version of you that shows up at church, and a version that shows up at work, and you've gotten so good at keeping them separate, you barely notice you're doing it anymore. You folded up the most important thing about you and put it away just to fit in the room. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith, as it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. Romans 1:16, 17. Paul wrote Romans from Corinth, preparing to visit a church he had never planted and never visited, the church at the center of the empire, in the city where power was defined and displayed. He was a Jewish tent maker planning to walk into Rome and declare that a crucified carpenter from an occupied backwater province was the Lord of the world. The shame calculus of that moment was enormous. Paul named it directly. I am not ashamed, which means the temptation to be ashamed was real. He did not float above it. He planted a flag through it. Shame is one of the enemy's oldest and most effective weapons against people. Not the productive shame that convicts and corrects. That is a gift, the paralysing kind. The kind that says, who you are is not enough. What you believe is embarrassing. What you have done disqualifies you from standing anywhere with confidence. Paul knew that shame intimately. He had overseen the murder of Christians before his conversion. He carried that. And yet he wrote, I am not ashamed. Not as someone who had never had reason for shame, but as someone who had encountered something more powerful than their history. The gospel is not a set of beliefs you politely hold in private. Paul calls it the power of God. The Greek word is dunamis, explosive, dynamic force. The same word used for the power that raised Christ from the dead. Paul is saying, I carry something that is not merely true. It is alive. It is active. It is stronger than the Roman Empire, and stronger than my worst day, and stronger than whatever shame the enemy is using to keep me quiet. That reframing changes everything about how you hold your faith, not as a liability to be managed in polite company, but as the most potent force available to human beings. Most people compartmentalize their faith without realizing they are doing it. It belongs in church, in private prayer, perhaps in their closest relationships. But it stays carefully contained when the conversation turns to work, to culture, to the people they spend most of their hours with. Not because they have renounced it, because shame has quietly taught them that it is socially costly to let it show. And so the most important thing about them, the thing that actually defines their identity, their purpose, their source of strength, gets folded up and put away when they walk into certain rooms. That is not wisdom. That is a slow surrender. The righteous shall live by faith. Not visit by faith on Sundays. Not consult faith in emergencies. Live the whole of your existence, the full texture of your days, saturated with a trust in God that does not require circumstances to validate it before it operates. This verse ignited the Reformation. It broke Luther open. Because what it declares is that you're standing before God, and therefore you're standing in your own interior world, is not constructed from your performance. It is received through faith, which means anyone who has been trying to earn their way to a sense of okayness, grinding toward a standard they never quite reach, is invited to simply receive what has already been given and live from that ground instead. That kind of faith produces a particular kind of person. Unashamed, not arrogant. There is no arrogance in someone who knows exactly what they were before grace found them. But unashamed, settled, not needing the room's approval because their approval comes from a source the room cannot grant or revoke. That person speaks differently, leads differently, loves differently. They are not performing for an audience whose opinion is ultimately irrelevant. They are living from a verdict already rendered, righteous received, held. That is not a theological abstraction. That is the most practical thing anyone can build their day on. Let us pray. Father, I take the verdict you have rendered, and I build on it today. I am not ashamed of the gospel, of my faith, of what you have done in me. I carry something more powerful than any room I walk into. Where shame has made me small and silent, I refuse it now. I am righteous by faith. I live from that. Today and every day. Identify one context, a relationship, a conversation, a room, where you have been folding your faith away to avoid the social cost. Today, find one moment in that context to let it show. Not with a sermon, with a sentence. An honest word about what you believe or what God has done. One moment of not being ashamed. That is how the flag gets planted.